Ms. Metzer can call to order. We have a quorum for sure, but you can call that if you wish at that point.
Okay, we are live.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting for the North Central Texas College Board of Trustees. The first item on our agenda is to call the meeting to order and establish a quorum. We do have a quorum. I will go ahead and call the roll just so we can make sure that we've recognized everybody. Carla Metzler is present. Dick Hayen. I think he's trying to talk. Christy Morris.
Here.
John Grime. Okay, thank you, Dick. John Grime hasn't joined us yet. Jerry Henderson. I see Jerry's name. I know he's here. I heard him talk earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henderson.
All right.
Dylan Ott. Okay. Erica Sullivan.
Here.
Okay. Thank you. We have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and move to the second item on our agenda, which is to conduct the public hearing regarding an amendment to a tax abatement agreement. And Dr. Wallace, do you want to introduce this?
Sure, I'd be glad to. This is the public hearing regarding the First Amendment to the abatement agreement for Belton Power Solar Farm with BT Cook Solar LLC, Sammy Joe Ripley, and I-35 and McGee LP. With us this evening is Austin Willis. Before we begin, Madam Chairman, a part of the conducting of that hearing would be to hear from the public if there are any comments. Ms. Otto would be the one to report that. Ms. Otto, do we have any public comment, email, and or anyone wishing to speak to the board on that? You're muted. I'm sorry, you're muted. Sandy, I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Okay, perfect. That being said, we do have with us this evening Austin Willis, who represents one of those firms who is wishing to address the board, Madam Chairman. So we'll let Austin, at this point, with your permission, just give you a little insight into this request. Mr. Willis.
Hi, my name is Austin Willis. I'm with Belltown Power, Texas. I was the one that originally presented the tax abatement agreement to you guys back in, I think, January 2019. Maybe it was December of 2018. Since then, we've gone through and gotten investors on the project. Their financing processes, they've had some diligence done and basically nitpicked through the document and found a couple things that needed to be updated to comply with the Texas Chapter 312 tax code. The first being allowing access to North Central Texas College to the project, of course, with reasonable notice to make sure that we've upheld our end of the bargain with making sure it's been constructed and maintenance is taken care of, that sort of thing. The second part is that updating Section 8, that we are bound by the law as well as the North Central Texas guidelines for tax abatements, and then also updating the notice section to the new owners of the project for notices. So it's a pretty simple amendment. Happy to answer any questions.
So, Madam Chairman, at this point, you have before you as board members that particular document. There's further Q&A that you may have can be offered to Mr. Willis, or Mr. Ball can answer questions from the college vantage point. The way we read it, really, it boils down to other members of abatements or we're desiring to have access to the site, and that just affords NCTC the equal ability to have access to that site with notification. That's the primary piece of the amendment that I see. Mr. Ball, do you have anything? So you agree that that's really what this abatement does. It does not change any of the tax piece of abatement. It is mainly an amendment to say we have access to that property if we desire.
Okay, so that would indicate that item 2B, that we would need to take action to approve this amendment to the abatement agreement. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
So if the board, and by the way, just for the record, Mr. Ott is with us as well as Mr. Grime. Mr. Ott and Mr. Grime is here. Okay. All right. Do we have an emotion then to approve the amendment to the abatement agreement? I think Mr. Haynes talking, but he's on mute. Sorry. So hard.
Sorry. I move that we accept the First Amendment to the Tax Abatement Agreement as presented this evening.
We have a motion by Mr. Haynes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christy Morris. Additional discussion? All those in favor, let's see, we better call the roll since we can't see everybody. So all those in favor, the first one would be Parliament answer is aye. Mr. Haynes made the motion.
Yes.
Christy Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Grime,
Yes.
Mr. Henderson, Dylan Ott,
Yes.
Erica Sullivan.
Aye.
Mr. Henderson, did you?
I didn't hear that.
Did you vote for the amendment of the abatement?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much for that response. So that means that was everyone was for, no opposed. Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is citizens communication. Sandy, do we have anyone that's reached out that would like to address the board this evening?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the reports. And the first report would come from the board committee, the finance committee. Christy?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on January 20th. We discussed the results for the bids for the Certificate of Deposit. Those went to 3 institutions, First State Bank, Munster State Bank, and Simmons Bank. We reviewed the annual investment policy as required by state law. We discussed the investment officer resolution, which you'll see later in the board meeting, and we reviewed November and December monthly financials.
Sorry, things are covering up my screen. It's hard to see everything. All right, so thank you very much for that report. So the next item is to hear the report from the Finance Committee, and I'm going to circle back to that because I think I just closed it on my screen. Let's go on to the next item, which would be the report from the Student Success Committee. Did they have a report this evening? Is that Mr. Henderson's report? Okay. Mr. Henderson, or can you unmute and maybe give your report for the Student Success Committee? Maybe
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, we did have a meeting and we discussed quite a few things. And one of my things that I was concerned about was the wearing of masks by students and teachers, which was made very clear that they're taking full responsibility and taking that all under control. But I would like for Debbie and Melinda and Dr. Bruce to share with you some things that we also discussed, please. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Dr. King, would you like to go first?
Yes. We did talk about quite a bit this afternoon in the Student Success Subcommittee meeting. Just a couple of quick points from the instructional aspect. We have obviously with COVID impacting our campus, we've had to lean on more online courses. We have about 70% of our enrollment in online classes and about 30% in face-to-face courses. That's a complete flip of what we normally have. We've also tried to be just as flexible as we've pushed over the last year. We've tried to be just as flexible as we can with our students and meeting them where they are. And our faculty have done that quite successfully. As far as services to our students, we've seen a real increase in the traffic of students using online tutoring. Also, our faculty are using virtual office hours. That's been successful for students to have access to the instructors. And then also we've used quite a bit of online library services so students can have some of their library needs met as well. But I'll hand it to either Melinda or Debbie now. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words.
I'll go next. This is Melinda Carroll, and I'm happy to report in regard to the student affairs area of the college. This evening, we provided information and first about our recruitment efforts and how our admissions team are meeting students virtually through our virtual acceptance letters. But really to answer that question about how we're recruiting students, we attended 85 college fairs. Our recruiters did from September to November. And then we're set to do another round of virtual college fairs this spring from February to May. So we will be in front of the high school students more so than what we were last year. And then we're also doing, our team is doing touchless drop-offs of our view books going to the high schools. And we're actually been invited to be in some of the high schools from a recruitment perspective. Also, we wanted to share some of the student awareness, awareness and student engagement activities that we have planned for the spring semester. Including such things as other various heritage months, such as our Black History program that we have scheduled for February. And then we gave a detailed outline of some additional plans that we have throughout the spring semester. Also gave a report on information in regard to our completion center, the Title III grant ending, and the success that has had for student success on the entire college and the partnerships that particular team has been working on and with. And then also just to piggyback on what Dr. King shared, how all of the student service related areas are still meeting students and trying to make sure that they know we're here for them, even if they aren't comfortable in coming to campus, and gave a report of how we're using our virtual queue list system in order to meet students, whether it be face-to-face in settings such as WebEx on the phone and also through text. And then finally, we provided an update of the new service that NCTC is able to provide to students. The NCTC Lion Care is a free medical and mental health and wellness service via telehealth appointments with licensed professionals 24/7. And that launched for all students, both credit and non-credit, as well as our part-time employees on January the 21st.
At the Student Success Committee, I was able to share what the NCTC Foundation has been doing from a student success perspective. And just to summarize that, we have awarded over $870,000 to 2,300 students to help them either with books, scholarship, tuition fees, and or emergency funds. We also have had $2.5 million in grants that have been received, and many of those funds will be used for student service initiatives. Another item that was shared at the Student Success Committee was the importance of student success and how that relates to the Board of Regents. Dr. Wallace shared with us that looking at success points and how we are funded, but also that the state board trustees are also really focusing on student success and how the board across the state can impact that. So that was our primary discussion in our Student Success Committee meeting.
Debbie?
Uh-huh.
There was a number, 479, as we were discussing student needs. I was taking some notes. Do you remember right off what that?
Sure. We were able to award 479 students, almost $80,000 worth of an emergency funds since March. And that I was saying was the most we've ever awarded in a year. So really excited to have those kind of funds and thanking our generous donors for that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. We appreciate it. I'll go ahead and step back and report on the executive committee meeting that we had. We did have that January the 20th. And Dr. Wallace reviewed the board agenda with us that we have to this evening. He also visited with the committee regarding the next level of federal funding for community colleges. We talked about the enrollment update for spring 2021. He gave us a detailed report, of course, because the legislative session has started, and he gave us a detailed report on the 87th legislator priorities for community college funding. And he informed the committee of the upcoming Board of Trustees Institute training that's going to be online this year instead of in person. So that's that committee report as well. All right, the next committee report would be the Chancellor's Administrative Report. Dr. Wallace.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments brief because you're hearing quite a few reports this evening, and so we understand that can be kind of cumbersome. So I just want to say it's been another good start to another semester. We hoped that 2021 would feel dramatically different than 2020. It doesn't yet, but it's getting there. And we're hopeful that in the very near future, with vaccinations coming out in bigger levels, that we will see some normalcy again to our campuses. But it has been exciting to see our students on campus walking around. We are still following all the COVID protocols, as Mr. Henderson made comment, the importance of our staff, faculty, and students following those protocols. They're doing very well. We appreciate the support of all those entities. We've had very few complications associated with our mask policy, etc. Our athletes are back on campus, and so they're having to learn a little bit of a new approach to living on a campus with COVID-19 protocols. But we're encouraging them to make sure that they keep those things in mind as they use our cafeteria, as they do all those things. So we're excited about having all of our students back, and also those that are on campus. Over the next few months, you'll hear more reports, especially on what is now referred to as CARISA. That's kind of our CARES federal dollars. I call it CARES 2.0, sort of, because it's hard to remember some of the abbreviations. But we're very pleased with what we're seeing as our numbers. Again, we are going to be able to contribute $1.9 million directly to students. That's exciting news. And then we have a nearly $7 million of additional federal funds coming to NCTC that we're still trying to make sure we're following the protocols that the federal government and those that are awarding those dollars want us to follow. So between Dr. Miller and I, you'll be hearing from us over the next few weeks and months about how we're going to be disseminating those. The benefit this time is these level of funds do enable us to regenerate some lost revenue income that we have experienced because of COVID-19, and specifically a drop in enrollment that you'll hear from Ms. Carroll here before too long in her report. Also, we will be continuing to work. I met this morning with TACC, which is the Texas Association of Community Colleges, met with CCAT and TCCTA, all of their legislative committees. We're unified in our priorities. Those have been presented to the board. They're also found on our college website at the bottom of the page. If you go to www.nctc.edu, scroll to the bottom, you'll find legislative update on that bottom screen. You can click on that, see priorities, see how they affect NCTC, and see information there publicly or as board members, whomever would like to see what those are. And we'll be updating that each week according to bills that are filed and how they might affect community colleges, and specifically North Central Texas College. I have to congratulate our NCTC Small Business Development Center. They have again broken all the records this year with huge amounts of capital infusion and meeting that goal. That's one of our priorities you'll see, is to keep those funds sustainable with legislative action this year. And so we appreciate Lori and her team and congratulate them on their continued success. It's hard enough to get capital infusion during a normal year, but to be growing businesses and industries during a pandemic is remarkable. So congratulations to them. I would be negligent if I didn't give a few little shouts out, and you always are guilty of missing a few people. I'm going to try not, and I'm going to start by saying we held a virtual assembly last Friday. That is the first time we've tried to get our entire employee base together in one WebEx meeting / YouTube channel. And it went really well. We had 200 plus participants at one given time, and we had as many as 500 different hits viewing that again. And so that was really exciting. I want to give some kudos out to just a couple of or a few of our folks. We have several that are celebrating 20 years. Now, this is the group that actually we would have normally celebrated last year when the pandemic hit. So we're going to have another group to celebrate in 2021 here, but this is so when you hear about 20 years of service, it's really 21 years of service. But anyway, I do want to recognize Cassandra Cove. Cassandra is in our office with Miss Carol in our Student Success and Enrollment Management office. Great lady, has been doing tremendous work with food pantries, et cetera. We appreciate her work. 20 years with us. Shauna Ayers, assistant to Dr. King in instruction, 20 years of service. Cindy Willis in our nursing department, 20 years of service. Yvonne Sandman is in OSD. Dawn Porter in our math department. Kathy Corley, one of our faculty. Misty Hamner, a faculty in math. Angie Bullard, our coach for volleyball, and Dr. Kevin Eubanks in the English department. All of those celebrating 20 years. So congratulations to them. On the 25-year list, we have Diane Walterscheid in marketing and Sam Dunlap. Dr. Dunlap is one of our biology faculty, and we are proud of their service. 35 years, Professor Jane England. Jane has been with us in our Humanities and Histories department for 35 years, and we appreciate her service. 40 years is Miss Denise Kaysen, who is online with us right now, our Vice Chancellor and Chief Technology Officer and Information Officer, 40 years with the college. And then we celebrated our 45-year anniversary for Dr. Pat Ledbetter, who's been with NCTC 45 years. Now, there is a plethora of folks that were 15, 10, and 5. I just can't take all that time. But anybody that serves 20 years plus in an organization deserves to get a little bit of credit, and kudos to them for their commitment to NCTC. So we'll do a virtual applause for them and say thank you for their service. And that will end my report this evening, unless, well, a couple other things. Donna Updergrove, our Senior Director of Grants, received the Employee of the Year Award, along with several recognitions there. And then Jake Arnold, a Professor of English, received Faculty of the Year. And so we congratulate those two as well. I'm open to any questions you may have. Otherwise, Madam Chairman, that's my report for this evening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wallace. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on our agenda would be the financial report, and that'd be Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You're actually going to have the November and the December financial statements in your packet this evening. And if your packet is in the same order as mine, I think if you turn to page 14, where I'm trying to get you is the first page of the December financial statements, because there's just a few things in the December statements I'd like to go over. But the first thing there in the December financials would be the statement of funds report. And I don't want anyone to be alarmed, but under board reserves at the top, it looks like the ending balance was about $5,000 less than the beginning balance, even though we didn't really spend anything out of reserves. And I want you to know that this really isn't the case. There's a timing issue here. Right before the holiday break, the college had 3 CDs that matured, and the timing of the maturities coincided with the college being closed for 2 weeks. In order to settle those 3 CDs, we had to use the college's general account at FSB to settle all the transactions. We weren't able to go in and make the appropriate accounting adjustments until our offices reopened in January. So technically, at the end of the month, on December 31st, the reserves were actually short about $13,000. You could say those funds spent the holidays in the college's general account, but once we returned, the funds were moved back to the board reserve account there at the bank, so they will be accurately reflected in the January financials. So don't worry, we didn't have a drop in reserves over during the month of December. Next thing I would like you to look at would be the next page. I believe that would be number maybe 15, budget comparison. If you look at this page, you'll see that financially the college is truly in remarkable shape given the current circumstances. Down toward the bottom, if you look at expenses 4 months into the year, you'll see that expenses are down in total, but also they're down as a percentage of what is a much smaller budget. So that means we're keeping our spending in line very well for the first third of the year. Then if you jump to the end of the financials, the cash flow report is the last report. And you'll see on this report that cash on hand is higher than where we were at the same point last year. So both the expense numbers and the cash flow figures both are very good signs as we move forward into the year 2021. Are there any questions or comments that anyone might have about anything in the financials?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miller. The next item would be a report on the institutional enrollment report for spring semester.
Good evening. Again, Madam Chairman and the entire Board of Regents, thank you for allowing me to report quickly on our institutional enrollment data. This evening, I've provided an enrollment report for fall of 2020 as well as spring of 2021. As mentioned in the student success report, the entire team, all student-facing offices, all faculty have been hard at work with outreach, processing applications, taking payments, processing applications for financial aid, advising, and meeting students where they are to answer questions about spring and what really their future at NCTC looks like. This evening, included in your board packet, again, you have the institutional enrollment reports for the entire fall 2020 as well as spring 2021, broken down in various ways by campus, by tuition status, by gender, as well as race and ethnicity. But I did want to just point out a couple of things. As Dr. Wallace had mentioned, for the fall, North Central Texas College has officially enrolled a total of unduplicated headcount of 9,004 students compared to last fall of 2019 ending at 10,015 students. So that did represent a decline of 10% compared to fall of 2019. But we do have to look at the positives here. We were fortunate in picking up additional enrollment for the second 8-week and the winter semester because the last time that we reported out to the board, we were at 12% down. So we picked up 2%. So we're looking at the positive things in that particular report. And then also for spring of 2021, as of January 25th, today, we are currently at 7,588 students for our 16-week and first 8-week sessions. So we're approximately 12% down compared to the ending total. Those are the two sessions that we will be reporting in our state funding for our base year funding. And we are still going to continue to enroll students for the second 8 weeks and the the spring mini semester in May up until the time that those classes begin. Again, a special thank you to the Division of Enrollment Management and Student Affairs for their continued commitment to meet students where they are and, really help students reach their educational goals. I hope everyone has had a chance to review the report, and I'm open now to answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right. Any comments? Okay, very much. Thank you very much for that report. The next report is from the External Affairs External Funding Report. Debbie, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Each of you should have gotten a copy of the external funding report, and I'm just going to spend a few seconds highlighting some of our accomplishments. It's always exciting to get to share with the board what our division's been working on. As you know, this year has been different for the foundation, but I'm really proud of the things that we've still been able to accomplish. We did work with the Argyle United Methodist Church, Shiloh Food Pantry, and Project Healing Waters to conduct actual in-person event called Casting for the Cause. And this event raised over $15,000 to support student scholarships and a food pantry. This spring, we were able to award 788 scholarships valued at over $265,000. And we did hear our audit report at our January Foundation Board meeting, and our balance is 12.4 million. So we're really excited that we passed the 12 million and are excited to see where we can go this next year to hopefully reach that 13 million. We also, for the first time ever, hosted the Donor Scholar Breakfast. This was a fun experience, but a very different one in that we had students do videos and share their stories. So we were trying to really let people have an opportunity, especially our donors, to interact with our students. And so we held that on November the 13th. We also wanted to let you know that we are not going to be hosting our Starlight Gala. We really hate that, but we also want to make sure that we're all safe and healthy. And so we'll be doing what we're calling a no show and share event. You'll be getting your tickets shortly. And so you won't have to attend the gala, but we're asking you still support the students, and all those funds would go directly into scholarships, book funds, and emergency funds. And then just a real quick update on our Alumni Association. This semester, they're kicking off their membership boxes. And so we're encouraging alumni to join the association for $25 membership fee. But for that, they'll receive a lot of NCTC swag. And so we think that's going to be a great way to help promote the college, but also encourage alumni to join the association. Our grants department, just a little bit of an update. As y'all know, the TRIO program ended, and so they were very successful the last 5 years, but we're most excited to say that they're refunded for this next time. So we have another 5 years of TRIO, and we'll be receiving $1.47 million to really provide a lot of close student success initiatives for our students in our TRIO program. Dr. Wallace already shared some of the successes of SBDC. We're so excited they received additional CARES Act funds. And just through those advisors, we've assisted 275 small businesses, created 682 new jobs, and also helped to secure $5.8 million to help those businesses be successful during this COVID situation. So very proud of all the work of the external affairs. And I know Marketing and Public Relations, Ski Sullivan's going to do his annual report, so I'll let him share what they've been working on this last year. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Nope, I think that's good. Thank you very much. Okay, the Marketing and Public Relations report. Ski?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let me see. Hopefully that'll work. Thanks for the opportunity this evening to share some of the marketing communications progress. You have the report in Debbie's overall external affairs, so we're just going to hit on some of the high points here this evening. And in, let me go back one. I just want to make it clear that in 30 plus years of doing marketing, we always have one way to start off a report, and that's in this type of vein. We are going to at least try to get a grain of truth in here somehow. As part of external affairs, it's our goal to continually communicate NCTC stories. They really are our treasure. Its mission and the many opportunities to all of our audiences. We're fortunate to have a staff that is both talented and very resourceful, and we work to bring private industry practices to the world of higher ed. A big part of what we do is enrollment marketing, which means identifying our prospective students and creating the most effective messages, send over the best channels, and then constantly tracking and measuring all of those efforts. Let's talk about the audience first. This is, in essence, our traditional audiences. We look at non-traditional students, which are a little older in age, and then we look at our high school students and recent grads. Some of that has changed this year because of COVID, because we have also now added parents to this mix of students and prospective students, because there's been a lot of concern about whether or not it's safe to come to college. But the one thing that is constant among all these folks is that they have a common intent, and that is to better themselves. We communicate with them through various different channels. In essence, and we won't go through all of these things here tonight, but it's a wide array of online, broadcast, print, outdoor, which is billboards, and in-home channels. This whole terrain is changing daily in terms of how we can reach people where they are. And for many prospective students, that means on their phone. It's amazing how we see the responses come in and how we're able to communicate all of our different programs to these various different groups. We wouldn't be doing our job, though, if we weren't really making sure that there's a place for them to come once they see all of our messages. So in essence, what we've done is we've created several different ways to track what it is that we're doing, to make sure that they are going to the right places to get the right information. And then we have to constantly follow up on that to make sure that we're being effective. Our digital display partners is basically an outside agency that we work with through the Denton Record Chronicle that helps us to identify every single thing that's happening. And the good news is that our ad programs overall are performing well above the national average for digital display and the channels that we're in. We track that through their analytics. We also track Google Analytics to see what's happening on all of our web pages. We have an internal web form system called Clive, and we constantly monitor the responses there. We are fortunate this year in that we've been given a bridge to what the enrollment department does through a software called JRM. So now we are actually able to track from when someone sees our ad and comes to the site and then actually will apply or request additional information. That's going to be a big part of how we track things from here on out, because it's going to give us, in essence, an ROI that goes from the very promotion all the way to enrollment. That's going to take a little bit, but we're excited about that. There's also the possibility that this next year we'll be able to implement some artificial intelligence in the form of perhaps a chatbot, who will help guide prospective students through their various different answers and help them get to where they need to be to get to take action to apply. And then this year, we're also implementing an all-new nctc.edu website for inbound students. That's very exciting because our site right now isn't geared so much for the inbound students, and we want to make sure that they're getting what they need. We wouldn't be doing our job, though, if we didn't also handle what happens on the inside of the institution overall. There's a lot of communication that flies at all times of the day, and we're working diligently to make sure that we handle that. This year we implemented, and it wasn't just because of COVID, but it was accelerated because of COVID, a virtual onboarding for all of the marketing communication projects. Anyone on staff or faculty can quite literally go to a form that we have set up online, fill in their needs, add any additional files that will help us to shape that project and get the project in the works immediately. They also have a way via templates that we've set up there. If it's an emergency project, they have a way where they can actually go ahead and start the project themselves and get it published immediately. We're doing ongoing project audits and a proactive communication with all divisions to make sure that we are handling their needs before they even have those needs. It's evening out the flow. And then I think that one of the key things here is that we are telling our stories. They really are our treasure. It's huge that we be able to share all of the things that are happening with our students, with our faculty, with our staff, alums, and in the community. One of the big stars in that whole system is our system called Lion Tales, where people can upload their stories either via photo, writing the story, or a video. And in the era when selfies are a big part of what a bunch of people are doing, this gives them that opportunity to do that painlessly. And then we have that for our archives, and we can share those stories with other people. We're looking at a lot of different ways to share NCTC's gifts, its opportunities, its programs, and frankly, we're pretty excited about the opportunity. Are there any questions? Does anybody have a question at all? Okay, well, thank you. I truly appreciate the opportunity to share that this evening.
Looks great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, the next item in report to the Regents is the Clary report. And I believe Angela.
Hello, that's my turn. Madam Chairman, esteemed board, NCTC community. My name is Nicole Shaw, and I serve NCTC as your Chief of Police and Director of Public Safety. And thank you so much for your time this evening. You have all been presented with and hopefully had an opportunity to review the 2019 Clary Annual Security and Fire Report. And I am here available for any questions that you may have about that.
So, Madam Chairman, this is a requirement of state and federal, and so you've had that, as Chief Shaw said, so we're open to any questions you may have. I do want to take just a moment of opportunity to thank Chief and our police department and our emergency management departments. It's been a very challenging year to track COVID and to keep up with all these reports you see in front of you. And I think it would be negligent on our part if we did not applaud our police department and NCTC for their work. And we really appreciate them so much. But any questions you have for Chief, she's open and has all the answers.
Mm-hmm. I do, yes.
If I might, in fact, I did read it, and I did read the incident reports that were turned in with the report, and they look to me remarkably low, but I have no basis of comparison for comparable institutions. Can you give us a little input on where we are in relation to other folks in incidents?
For an institution our size, you are absolutely correct. We are very, very low. A police department in a college community is not so much about law enforcement per se. It's more about improving quality of lives of our students, faculty, and staff. Being present, being active, knowing everyone's name. And I think that really helps keep those numbers very, very low.
Well, obviously, to me, that looks like we're doing a very good job of doing it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud of the work that everyone does.
And Mr. Hayen, you are correct. Our numbers in comparison to equal size institutions are low, and that is a good point. And I appreciate you bringing that out because we should be proud of those numbers. We would like it to be none, but that's not really humanly possible, I'm afraid. So, but we really appreciate the work of our police and our staff and faculty for being diligent in their reporting of issues when they occur.
That's exactly right. It's absolutely a team effort. It's not all about us. It's about all of us, not just public safety. So we appreciate the job that you do to help us keep everyone safe.
Okay, thank you very much for the report.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda item for approval. Is there any item A through E that needs to be pulled off for considering independently? Okay, not getting any response, so we'll go ahead and accept a motion for the approval of the consent agenda items.
I move that we accept the consent agenda items as presented.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hayen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Erica Sullivan. All right, so we'll call the roll for the vote since there are some that we cannot actually see this evening. Carla Metzler is aye. Dick Hayen?
Aye.
Christy Morris?
Aye.
John Grime?
Aye.
Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Dylan Ott? Okay, for some, Dylan's not us. He's got his, there it is. I heard you. Thank you, sir. And Ms. Sullivan?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, the next item on our agenda is discussion and possible action for the calling of the board election dated May 1st, 2021.
So, Madam Chairman, you have before you a document for the order of the election, and that is simply what it states, is that the board would move this evening to move forward with ordering the election to take place. You also see sites, polling locations, the addresses of those polling locations. I remind the board that this is a little bit of an odd period of time in the board's election process, because normally you have a 2-2-3 cycle, if that makes sense, where you have 2 board members up, next time 2, and then there's always a third because of an odd number of board members. But we want to make clear to our community and to the board members that Mr. Ott is filling a vacancy appointed and would be running now to fill that remainder of vacancy. Ms. Sullivan did that similarly and is running on her own now, and if she chooses to, that place, I should say, rather than individuals. But those places have to do with why we have 4 this year rather than just the traditional 3. And so the place 2 is an unexpired but would last 21 to 25. Place 3 would last the full election year. 4 and 5, all those places are for a normal term of service. Does that make sense? We're open to any questions, but the administration would recommend the approval of the order of election for NCTC board.
All right, so we'll need a motion for that to be approved, please.
I would make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Henderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hayen. Thank you. Additional discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and call the roll. Carla Metzler is aye. Dick Hayen?
Aye.
Christy Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Grime?
Aye.
Jerry Henderson?
Aye.
Dylan Ott?
Aye.
Erica Sullivan?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, the next item would be the consideration of adopting a resolution to appoint the CFO as the College District Investment Officer.
So, Madam Chairman, you have before you this evening that particular resolution. As Dr. Miller reported earlier today, it's very challenging giving our multiple investment locations when CDs, et cetera, come into time for renewals, et cetera. We have to get quite a few of us together. Board policy allows for the CEO or the Chancellor in this case to designate and or be that individual. And with your permission, I would like to recommend the passing of a resolution to appoint Dr. Miller, since he is Chief Financial Officer, to that role. We've chosen to present him specifically by name because in the event you have a shift for some reason in CFO, you would need to renew this, and it's really based on the individual that holds that position. So that's why you actually see a physical name rather than a position title in the resolution. But that would be a recommendation from myself because board policy would allow me to recommend for that appointment. But I do need resolution in order for us to notify financial entities of that decision by the board.
All right, so we would need a motion, if you so choose, to approve the CFO as the College District and Investment Officer by resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Dr. Van Miller as Chief Investment Officer for NCTC.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ott. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Morris. Additional discussion. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the roll for the vote. Carla Metzler is aye. Dick Hayen?
Aye.
Christy Morris?
Aye.
John Grime?
Aye.
Jerry Henderson?
Aye.
Dylan Ott?
Aye.
And Erica Sullivan.
Aye.
And that means the motion carried.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. One thing I would like to add, Dr. Wallace and I had discussed this. There was a little concern about putting my name in there, but this is going into board policy as a resolution as part of our investment policy. That policy has to be reviewed once a year anyway. So whenever some year, many years from now, when my replacement comes on board, within a year, we'll have to redo that investment policy anyway. So it'll be a simple change to add the new CFO's name in there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, so at this point, I believe we're down to item number 7, which is executive session. And I need to read a little statement before we convene. Let's see, hold on, I get the right statement here.
And Madam
Yes,
Chairman, while you're finding that statement to read,
I got it.
I want to give protocol of what will happen, being that this is a virtual meeting with your permission. What will occur is the board will go into session when Ms. Metzler calls that. You will find our live YouTube channel will go blank for a while with a screen that enables you to know that the board is in session. At the end of that, the screen will return back to a live presentation. So if you are watching virtually this evening, if you hold on after executive, you can see if there's any action from the board post executive session. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, thank you for clarification. That was very good. All right, so I need to read the statement. The board will now recess this regular meeting and go directly into executive session as provided for in the following Texas government codes. Section 551.072, deliberations about real property.
We will need to wait until Elizabeth notifies us if we're actually out of executive.
All right, Madam Chairman, we are live.
Very good. Okay, it's the end of our executive session, and I need to make this announcement that the date is January the 25th, 2021, and the time of day is 6:57 p.m. So do we have a motion from our executive session discussion?
I make a motion to approve a resolution for Dr. Wallace to sign an affidavit for the sale of land in Love County previously approved by the board for the benefit of the board.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hand. Do we have a second? We have a second by Dylan Ott. Additional discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and call the for the vote. Carla Metzler is aye. Dick Hand?
Aye.
Christy Morris?
Aye.
John Grime?
Aye.
Jerry Henderson?
Aye.
Dylan Ott?
Aye.
Erica Sullivan?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, and I believe at this point, we will accept a motion to adjourn our
I
meeting.
move we adjourn.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you.